What's up, everyone, and welcome back to Around the Table Sports. Today we're going to take a look at the quarterback competition at Georgia, and this is episode 2 of the college football quarterback competition series. And I have to admit, I may have misspoke last week when I said that Alabama might have the most intriguing quarterback competition in this offseason, because man, oh man, is the one at Georgia going to be interesting. Jamie Newman from Wake Forest and JT Daniels from USC are both very capable, competent quarterbacks, and it's important to note that JT Daniels, when he first started at USC in 2018, was supposed to be a senior in high school. So last year in 2019, when he got injured in the season opener against Fresno State, that was supposed to be his true freshman year. So that's really lofty praise you guys have heard about this guy. So today, I wanted to watch the film of both Jamie Newman and JT Daniels and see what it told me. Let's start off with Jamie Newman. Now, Jamie Newman played at Wake Forest since 2017, has had a prolific RPO scheme, and I have to be honest, sometimes it irks me to watch. However, that's not a result of Jamie Newman. I mean, just look at this throw right here. As far as mechanics go, that's completely solid, from follow through to arm placement, everything, even ball placement. The only reason this ball was incomplete is because the receiver let off on the top of the route. If he'd have kept sprinting, this would have been a touchdown all day, and we can see that right here in this replay. If we look to the top of the screen, right here the receiver changes his trajectory, and that's where he loses the momentum. But just look at that ball placement. If that receiver never slows down, that's a beautiful touchdown. Jamie Newman's arm isn't the question here. He is prolifically talented, but let's take a look at this right here, because this is really great stuff. As we can see, the corner is letting the receiver run right past him because he has safety help over top. Jamie Newman sees this and puts the ball in the only place it can be. If he underthrows it, the corner picks it off. If he overthrows it, the safety can make a play on it. This is a ball that the receiver should have caught and was placed perfectly. And that's not something that's just relative to this throw. I mean, he shows off a really high level understanding of ball placement in a lot of throws, but I couldn't help but notice his receiver's constantly letting him down. Let's take a look at a play where his receiver doesn't let him down. Right here we can see just how talented the arm is, and he delivers a beautiful strike for a touchdown, letting the receiver make a play on the ball, which is really all that's key here. There's two things that stand out to me. One, his ability to be able to make this throw with a defender draped on his back foot. And look at that spiral. I mean, his form there was perfect even though he couldn't get a follow through. And two was the touch and placement. Allowing your receivers to make plays on throws like this is what separates quarterbacks. And it's what allows offenses to become successful as far as scoring touchdowns or having to take a trip to the red zone. Jamie Newman, I think, is severely underrated, but he is not without faults. As are with most RPO quarterbacks, they tend to stare down some reads because sometimes the RPO system encourages that, and especially the RPO system at Wake Forest, which is a literal one and done read, at max 2 reads. Right here, Jamie Newman completely telegraphs where he's going to throw the football. I mean, he holds that linebacker in place, and whether or not the receiver ever had a chance at this ball is kind of irrelative because every defender knew exactly where it was going. But just because he can make a read and stick there doesn't mean that it's always a bad thing. I mean, just look at this right here. The defender jumps off sides and Jamie Newman instantly has pressure in his face. What does he do? He keeps his eyes downfield on his original target, sliding to the left and delivering an absolute beauty of a throw. So you kind of have to take the good and the bad. There are some times where he can stare his receiver down to the point of completely telegraphing where he's going to go, and then others, he's staring downfield and making an absolutely great play. I mean, this stuff right here is something that NFL quarterbacks do all the time. You got your defender popping off so you have a free play on a 3rd and 11, so why not take the deep shot? He instantly beats the corner, and the safety wasn't in any position to give any help, so it's a beautifully thrown ball, leading the receiver and letting him make a play on it, which is a theme with Jamie Newman. His touch is actually really impressive, and I know what his numbers say, but his touch is really elite. But that's not the scariest thing about him. Just look at this right here, and number 21 had a rough day. Jamie Newman is an absolute power runner. And if you think about that Georgia Bulldogs offense with a power runner like this and some of those advanced run schemes they have, that's terrifying for all of the SEC. And just look at him bulldozing over people. In 21, that's a rough time, my man. That's a rough end of the highlight to be on. Jamie Newman is absolutely incredibly talented, and when I kept watching his film, I kept enjoying it more and more, seeing him make throws like this, understanding that the corner has inside leverage, so he has to put the ball to the outside where only his receiver can make a play. I mean, if we watch where the receiver is when the ball is thrown, as compared to where he ends up, we can see that the receiver was the only one who ever had a shot at this ball. It was thrown just far enough to the outside that he had plenty of clearance on that cornerback. An absolutely beautiful throw. But here, once again, we can see some of the deficiencies of this one-and-done RPO read. Right here, his entire line is going to slide to the left. But that doesn't stop the defense from just absolutely bearing down on him. Nobody in the defense was really fooled, and if anything, North Carolina stayed home and was very disciplined on this play. Let's pause it and take a look. So we have the entire line sliding left, the running back is going to take the fake and go left, and the tight end on the left tackle is going to come back right and pick up that edge rusher. The problem is these two linebackers in red played it perfectly. They never second-guessed anything. The one linebacker went with his assignment at the running back, and the other linebacker had a free rush right at Jamie Newman. Jamie Newman didn't have time to set up or make anything happen because this RPO play is so slow developing, and if a disciplined defense reads it correctly, it's going to be devastating, as it was right here. But that's the question with Jamie Newman, as this play right here illustrates. I don't know whether or not it was Jamie Newman sometimes making bad decisions, or it was a result of the system he was in, and teams such as North Carolina and Clemson that are well coached up defensively are just going to always kind of have a leg up. I mean, right here, Tanner Muse was not fooled at all, and he was instantly able to get over on this route. It's kind of a high-low concept, with one receiver coming off on a screen fake. This right here is an easy read by Tanner Muse, and he just baits Jamie Newman into the throw. What does JT Daniels have to say about this quarterback competition? Remember, as I said earlier, the kid's supposed to be a senior in high school his first year starting at USC. And remember from the video I uploaded earlier about Jordan Hancock and Terrence Ferguson, that this USC offensive line was super inconsistent. But on a play like this, where JT Daniels gets the time to load up and throw, and he's able to throw with good mechanics, it's always a dime. I mean, this kid is uber talented. Those of you who remember him at Matter Day will remember how highly touted he was. Throws like this right here are not uncommon for him. He's able to make plays even when the pocket breaks down. And trust me, the pocket broke down quite a bit, and he was able to prove just how athletic he was. He's able to slide around in the pocket right here and deliver a throw even though he knows he's about to get hit. That's a guy that's supposed to be a senior in high school, and that's incredible. But JT Daniels has timing as well. And that's something that I've alluded to with both Bryce Young and Tua, and that's what makes them so successful, is the timing and the accuracy they have allows receivers to get the ball in stride and make a play. And for those of you that have watched Todd Monken, Georgia's new offensive coordinator, this is the type of stuff he loves, a quarterback who's able to get the ball out quick and allow the receivers to go make a play. It's the type of quarterback that can allow an offense to really flourish because the timing and the sync, it just makes slants impossible to defend. But that doesn't mean JT Daniels is devoid of any blame. And this throw right here kind of sums it up. It's really the battle of two quarterbacks. Who are you going to get? Right here, JT Daniels has all the time in the pocket and just doesn't follow through with his back foot. And sure, it's a completion, and I am of the mindset that as long as you can get that completion, that's what matters. But it's the difference between allowing the receiver to run with the ball and make a play instead of the receiver just having to drop. And this throw right here is kind of the same thing. If JT Daniels makes a bad throw, it's going to be an underthrow. And I have to admit, there were more than I would have liked to see, and they were almost always the result of poor footwork and finishing. Now, there's always two sides to every story. Last play, he had time in the pocket. This time, he doesn't. I mean, that pocket completely collapses from around him, and he's having to contort his body in all sorts of ways to get the throw off. but it shouldn't have been thrown. And I realize that he should have been a senior in high school and we're splitting hairs. But when we're talking about a quarterback competition against a guy like Jamie Newman, these are the hairs that have to be split. And just look at that platform he's trying to throw from. This ball shouldn't have been thrown, but the offensive line severely let him down. Let's look at what he does well, and this is a throw he does really well. To me, it kind of highlights a few different things here. The arm strength, because for those of you who think this is an easy throw, I have news for you. It's not. It's completely across the field, and he hits his receiver perfectly in stride as he's coming out of that break. What we have here is a fake comeback route that goes into an out route, and he times it perfect. Look at, he's already throwing the ball, and the receiver hasn't even gotten into the break for the fake comeback yet. And he knows exactly where his receiver is going to be, so he puts it just inside that 30-yard line and allows his receiver to come back, turn, and make a beautiful play on the ball. We can see right here, though, that JT Daniels kind of falls back into that same habit I talked about in the Texas game, and it was a habit that he fell back into a lot during his 2018 season, where he doesn't complete his footwork and the ball is thrown accurately, but not as accurately as it could be. Not as accurately as it needs to be if you're going to allow your playmakers to go make plays. Right here, because he doesn't follow through, the ball, while it gets to the target, isn't put in front of the tight end. So the tight end has to change his body angle and his whole momentum in order to try and come back and catch that football, and it results in an incomplete. That's the difference between a completion and an incompletion. And then this ball right here, once again, he doesn't follow through and it's an underthrow. I'll say it once and I'll say it again. If JT Daniels is going to make a bad throw, and there's not many of them, it's going to be behind the receiver, or it's going to be an underthrow, and it's because he doesn't consistently finish in his footwork. And like I said, I think it's a result of the USC offensive line being porous and he constantly being under pressure. You mix that with a kid that has prodigy level talent, and I can see him kind of fading into some less than ideal footwork because he can rely on talent. Now, in his 2019 debut against Fresno State, unfortunately, he was injured, but a lot of that looked to be cleaned up. He was much more precise in his throws. I didn't notice any of the underthrows, and if they were, it was just a simple mistake. In fact, the only underthrow I really noticed was when he was rolling out of the pocket and he had someone coming down on him, but he still got the ball there very accurately. And this throw right here shows the progression and the consistency of his footwork. Even though the offensive line is still kind of having pressure get to him and the pocket is collapsing, he still manages to follow through on the throw and deliver a great strike. I mean, it really is tragic that he got injured in the Fresno State game because he was really looking good. But who do I think is going to be the starter for Georgia? Well, as talented as JT Daniels is, I still worry about the injury he had and the consistency in his footwork, because there were times his freshman year where he really started relying on just how athletic his arm and body was, and he wasn't using good form. And even though he made great strides during the Fresno State game, that's not to say it was perfect. I mean, this throw right here, he has a clean pocket and he doesn't step through. The throw is accurate, but that's not the issue here. And I know it sounds like I'm splitting hairs, but when you're in the SEC, these are the hairs that must be split. So do I think JT Daniels is going to win the starting job this year? Honestly, even though that I think JT Daniels is an incredibly talented quarterback who is going to lead Georgia to great success and who may be more naturally talented than Jamie Newman, I think the job is Jamie Newman's. When you can incorporate a power run game like he can give Georgia into that system with those athletes on the outside, I mean, it can get truly terrifying. And I just have to see it one more time. I mean, look at this. Bap! Doesn't matter. Jamie Newman is a really rare talent, and I think he got really underappreciated at Wake Forest. And I think that if they incorporate his skill set into this offense, he can really shine, especially with the consistency he displays in his form, and he has a really crisp touch ball. The only question is will he be able to break the habit of staring down receivers? Because trust me, if he's able to do that, the SEC is in trouble. Well, that'll do it for today's video. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the channel, as I upload content related to high school football and college football fairly often. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like and leave a comment down below as to what institution you would like to see the quarterback competition of next. Well, that'll do it for today. See you later.